Hey, howdy, everybody. My name's Jonathan Fessmeyer. Welcome to a special edition of the Mostly Steampunk podcast. We can call this episode 7A. No intro music this time because I just want to get to the point of this, which is I'm going to read you my short story, The Obstructed Engine. Well, not all of it, about a third of it, the first four scenes. This is a pretty long story, about 5,500 words long, and it is a prequel to my upcoming novel, Bodacious Creed, a Steampunk Zombie Western. And there's the cover for that. So I plan to have this book out around November. Right now, I'm busy getting it finished. I have beta readers helping me out, letting me know what they think of the story, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. Getting really good comments on it. Hopefully, you'll love it too. Um, Now, The Obstructed Engine, as I mentioned, is a prequel to Bodacious Creed, a Steampunk Zombie Western. It's not the only prequel story I have planned. I actually plan to write a few more. As I'm going to read only part of the story, I want to let you know you can read the rest of it within a few minutes after this video if you like, or you could just get it now if you want. I will have a link in the box below with where you can go. I just need your email address, so sign up and you'll get an email back giving you the link to the story. And then, as a bonus, 3 days later, you'll get a link to download 8 of my fantasy stories that I wrote years ago, some of, I think, my best short stories. And whenever I publish a new, if you're signed up, whenever I come out with a new Creedverse story or some kind of background info for Bodacious Creed and the Creedverse, you'll get to see that before anybody else. Eventually, I plan to put all these stories into an anthology, and I'll sell that, but you'll have already gotten them all for free. So the Obstructed Engine introduces a few important characters in the book and important settings, and will kind of hopefully get you excited about the book coming out. Finally, if I stutter or have to repeat a sentence as I'm reading, please forgive that. Um, I don't read um, books professionally. It's actually pretty tough for me to read aloud and just keep completely steady. So just gonna read like a normal person. So I hope you enjoy, and I'm about to start now. The Obstructed Engine by Jonathan Fessmeyer. The first 2 weeks of January 1876 filled Anna Lynn Boyd with trepidation she had not experienced since childhood. From age 17 to 20, she had been a soiled dove out on the edge of the American frontier, yet even then she had never felt so worried. On January 3rd, she stood on the porch of the House of Amber Doves. That restful platform turned at a corner and faced two streets, Pacific and Soquel. Anna ended her life as a prostitute when she left about 3 years ago, glad to be out from under the thumb of the Madame Margarita Fullerton. Funny enough, last August she had returned and bought the place outright, building and business. Most of the women now in Anna's employ were happy to see her and relieved at Fullerton's retirement. Anna's next big announcement came as a shock not only to the girls, but to many living in Santa Cruz. She had scheduled major renovations and remodeling for the House of Amber Doves. She paid for long-term hotel rooms for each of her 20 doves. The women couldn't fathom how Anna could afford this, but she said her uncle had passed away and left her his fortune. A lie. But she had secrets she felt far from ready to share. By early December, the construction was finished. The building, once 2 stories, now stood at 3. Before, several girls often had to share the same room, but now each had a room of her own. The saloon on the first floor now boasted a stage, a long bar, a larger kitchen, and a winding staircase. Anna resided on the first floor, her room past the kitchen and down a hallway. Most notably surprising to all the girls were the new steam generators attached to the outside of the building, something Fullerton had never bothered to pay for. Of course, such amenities were new, but many other businesses, and even ordinary folks, already had them generating electricity for refrigeration, lights, and other inventions from Morgan's Mechanicals. No more lamps and candles for the girls. They now had Tesla bulbs to light their rooms. The kitchen could now stock enough food to serve some of the city's best meals to its patrons. In short, the House of Amber Doves had joined the fast pace of the times. If only the girls knew the major part Anna had played. In the alley behind the House of Amber Doves, Anna looked over the steam generator attached to the wall. One of three that powered the saloon and brothel, it had stopped giving off its low hum, and the thin white steam had trailed off. The steel machine, a convex circle 4 feet in diameter, had a metal tube with thicker edges on top where the steam escaped. Anna had brought up a screwdriver, pegging this generator for the culprit when power went out on the second floor. After removing 4 screws, she opened the panel on the right side and carefully set all pieces in the dirt at her feet. Underneath was a Morse key, exactly the sort one used to send telegrams, but this one allowed her to send a password for the generator. Anna tapped it in, and the large circular plate in the center swung open to the left. Anna gasped. She didn't generally like surprises unless they were especially good. This fell into the bad category. How in the world had this, of all things, gotten down into the tubing? Pardon me. She had to breathe deeply several times to calm her pounding heart. She then grabbed the obstruction around the middle and pulled out the dead white cat. It gave off the musky smell of wet hair and cooking meat. The full-sized adult feline must have climbed through the tube at the top, just about 20 minutes back, and died. With the body gone, Anna flipped an internal switch. The generator's design was such that, if anything blocked the tubing, the whole machine would shut off. She knew exactly how it worked, down to the slow flow of otherworldly ether that gave the steam more force and caused it to last longer, multiplying the escaping steam. But it did. Wait. She knew exactly how it worked, down to the slow flow of otherworldly ether that gave the steam more force and caused it to last longer. No one had figured out how the ether worked, causing the boiling water to last much longer, multiplying the escaping steam, but it did. Anna's machines made the engines from just 2 years ago look ancient by comparison. Within a few minutes, Lywood returned to the second floor. She closed the circular hatch, heard the lock slip into place, and screwed on the first panel. Anna then knelt and patted the cat. The generator had not shut itself off immediately. The cat's moist fur scarcely covered the blistered skin on its face. The mouth hung open, revealing its charred tongue. The engine had probably seared its lungs, killing the animal quickly, though painfully. Yet this death was recent, which made it promising. Just maybe Anna could reverse it. Back inside, the House of Amber Doves bustled with activity. Danielle, a robust, dark-haired gal in her late 20s, rushed up to Anna at the bar, pulling along the young ranch hand. "Lights are back on, thank you," she exclaimed. The gentleman smiled sheepishly as they hurried upstairs to Danielle's room on the second floor. Anna loved the new technology that she in secret had helped to bring about. Like all good advancements, it made life easier. For her, it came down to efficiency, and that meant better use of energy and time. The chill air and northward wind convinced many of Anna's customers to sit by the fire in the saloon's expansive main room. Others migrated to the quieter back section behind the stage. On that raised half-circle platform, Whiskey Zombie Collective performed a trail tune with guitar, fiddle, and banjo. Anna knew her presence in the saloon added to the morale of the girls, and that many of the men were happy to see her there. Some here had been her regular Johns in past years, but no more, though some still propositioned her. It wouldn't be the worst idea, though, now and then. Maybe better than trusting one man with her secrets. Funny enough, at that moment, Jonathan Johns moseyed in through the wide-open doors. Anna pegged him for about 19, or 4 years younger than she. He put his thumbs in his suspenders and glanced around for a table. His sleeves were rolled up, his baggy trousers covering the necks of his walking boots. Though slender, he radiated a quiet strength with well-defined arms. It was the sort of look Morgan's automatons used for their many standard steelies. Anna took a glance at the 2 automatons that stood beside the stairs. These guard models, Christmas gifts from Miles Morgan, she had named Lucky and Dixie. Though they'd made some guests uncomfortable for a few days, by New Year's, they had become fixtures of the saloon. Her eyes immediately went back to Jonathan Johns. who many in town called Jojo. When Anna had ostensibly left Santa Cruz 3 years ago, he hadn't been around, but she noticed him immediately when she came back. He had a long, chiseled face and wild blonde hair. She bit her lip and wondered if he could be wild in the bedroom as well. Anna had never seen Jojo in the saloon before, just around town doing odd jobs. She had even noticed him working on a steam generator at the back. He had to be bright, and Anna found that as attractive as his looks. As he sat at the bar, Anna thought she might have a shot of whiskey to settle her nerves. Before she could turn, he addressed her. "Howdy, ma'am. What sort of victuals you serve?" "All sorts." She passed him a menu from a shelf under the bar. He took it in his wiry hands. Anna turned around to catch her breath. She knew this was stupid. She had never had such nerves around any of the men she'd taken to bed, nor now when she'd flirt to encourage more business. Carla, a prostitute who did double duty as a barmaid, leaned toward Jojo, arms on the bar to press her breasts together, deepening her cleavage. "You're new here, but I've seen you around town. Maybe I could interest you in some dessert after dinner?" Anna watched through the mirror behind the bottles of scotch, ale, and whiskey. She had to force herself not to turn around and pull Carla away. If Jojo wanted to fuck one of the girls, who was she to get in the way of her own business or any of them making the money they relied on? Never very good at hiding her emotions, Anna noticed her worried look in the mirror. Jojo turned over the menu and said, "Yeah, I might have some dessert. Chocolate cake looks mighty fine." Anna stifled a giggle. "No," Carla said, leaning closer, "you know what I'm talking about." Business or not, Anna acted on instinct and positioned herself next to Carla, so close that she pushed the dove aside an inch. "You're new here," she said a little too loudly to Jojo. "Your first meal and dessert are on the house. I recommend the steak and potatoes for a hard worker like you. Rare. The steak, I mean. Have the steak rare." Carla gave Anna a hard pat on the shoulder and asked another man if he needed a refill on his drink. "Rare steak sounds outstanding," said Jojo, "and cold beer if you've got it." In fact, they had cold beer on tap. Device and refrigeration courtesy of Morgan's Mechanicals. Anna filled an oaken mug for him. The beer came from a shop a few blocks away, Front Street Brewery. She set the mug in front of him, careful not to let any spill, then flashed him a smile and stepped into the kitchen through the batwing doors to the side of the bar. "Steak, rare, and taters for our special guest," she called. Marjorie Smullen, cook and daughter of the nearby stable owner, gave Anna a nod. Marjorie called out the meal from the back, and Anna served Jojo his meal, refill of the beer, and an especially large slice of chocolate cake. They hardly exchanged a word. The rest of the evening, shyness gripped her. Jojo seemed to lack a talkative streak. As she worked at the bar, she felt a growing awkwardness between them. When he finished, Jojo patted his belly with satisfaction, thanked Anna, and went back to the front door. He left $1 on the counter, more than what the meal would have cost, a gentleman to boot. Anna's lips formed a melancholy smile, and she felt stupid for not asking Jojo more about himself. She wanted to know how he'd come to Santa Cruz and how he learned to fix so many things. She resolved herself to do just that the next time he came by. As Anna swept the porch the next afternoon, she had the white cat in mind. She had spent the morning with it, looking over its face. The scars had already faded some underneath its fur. After that, when Anna had left her room, Hattie Keene was playing the second movement of Beethoven's Symphony No. 7 on the piano up on stage. She considered requesting a more uplifting tune, but Hattie had her eyes closed and looked so mesmerized that Anna decided to let it go. The girl played well, but Santa Cruz had no demand for concert pianists. So she sold sex instead and taught a few music students on the side. Joella, a tall blonde girl of Swedish ancestry, swept the porch and told Anna the wind had kicked up dust that morning. Anna offered to take over for a simple reason. She spotted Jojo across the street. Though the dirt on the roads had become about as packed down as could be, it seemed every other day someone hit a hole with a wagon wheel. Jojo knelt over one now, having a look at the damage. 2 crates, probably borrowed from the general store, held up the left side of the wagon. The horse seemed calm enough, chewing on feed from its grazing muzzle. Jojo had a pack of tools slung across his back. He dropped it beside him and took out a wide wrench. "What's taking so long?" Bill growled at Jojo. He and another ranch hand, Champ, stood watching Jojo work. Judging by the crates in the back of the cart, the two had come into town from Rancho de Mierdino to make a delivery when their wagon hit a rock or pothole and needed fixing. Champ stood a head shorter than Bill, and both men wore dusty, linsey-woolsey trousers and brown shirts with sweat stains under the armpits. More than once, Anna had seen Bill use his height to intimidate others. In her days as a dove, she had always avoided him when he'd visit the brothel. "That's all right, Bill," Champ said. "We still have time to get back. Let Jojo do the job right." "It's not broken, not really," Jojo said. "It just got loose. I'll get it fixed up in a few minutes. If I put it in now, it's liable to crack or collapse on your way out of town. You don't want this out of alignment." "Don't tell me what I want," Bill roared. He lifted his boot and kicked Jojo with the flat of it, hard, knocking the younger man to the dirt. Anna gasped. She knew all about Bill's predilection for bullying, but she had never actually witnessed him attack anyone before. Maybe he had been drinking. She had a mind to stamp out there and whack him silly with the broom handle. Hey now! Champ took hold of his partner's arm and pushed Bill back a pace. Bill pushed against Champ, knocking him back several paces. He stepped toward Jojo again. The tinker got on his feet, grabbed Bill by the arms, forced him around, and punched him square in the kidney. He then swept a foot against Bill's leg, making the larger man fall on his face. As Bill struggled to breathe, Jojo knelt beside him. "I'm helping you with your wagon wheel, but I'm not your whipping boy." Anna felt a little scared of Jojo at the moment, though clearly he had to protect himself. Champ knelt at Bill's other side as Jojo went back to work on the wheel. "You all right there?" Champ asked. "Yeah, you're fine. Take it easy. Breathe slow." Though his breathing sounded forced, painful, Bill seemed able to take in a little more air with each breath. Jojo tried to work calmly on the wheel, but even from this distance, Anna witnessed his shaking hands. She caught her own breath, but couldn't look away. A minute later, Bill stood and leaned with hands on knees, taking labored breaths. Jojo finished reattaching the wheel to the cart. "You're all set to go," Jojo said. "Thank you kindly," said Champ, as he tried to help Bill get into his seat. The larger man jerked his arms back in a combination threat and refusal to let his partner assist, then climbed aboard with all the grace of an angry toddler. As the men rode off, Anna thought of going to help Jojo, but he turned and went into the general store. So that is the portion I'm going to read now. That is I'm on page 8, and actually that's just about halfway through. There's 16 pages. So I think you will enjoy the rest of the story as well. Simply go to the link below, sign up for the sign up with your email, and you'll get that. You'll also get, as I mentioned, in 3 more days, you'll get 8 more short stories of mine. And I send out emails to the Mostly Steampunk newsletter, which you'll be joining. I send out between 1 a week and 1 every 2 weeks. So I used to send one out every time I put a blog post up. But now I'm doing it after like a couple blog posts and a couple videos, maybe 3 things, and then I kind of just say what I've done and maybe give a little bit more information that you won't see in the blog. So it's fun, and that helps you keep informed on all the fun things I'm doing as well. Video game, I'm playing steampunk video games here on YouTube occasionally, since it is the mostly steampunk podcast and all my media. I'll sometimes talk about Game of Thrones or about writing or just other things I'm interested in. Game of Thrones really gets in there because I really enjoy the plot and just all the different characters and all the different theories, and I think just story-wise it's fantastic, and that's why it's one of the things that I've really latched onto. So I think that's about it. You can also, I think that's about it for now. If you want to help me out on Patreon, anything like that, there will be a link below. Please subscribe. Feel free to share this with your friends. And I will be putting up, I'm sure, another video within the next week or so. Thank you for listening. Again, hope you enjoy the rest of the story. Once you get that, you'll have my email address. So if you want to let me know, leave a comment below. That's it. Bye-bye.